Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Wind, the podcast about the Kingkiller Chronicles written by Patrick Rothfuss. I am Leonard. I am accompanied by my friend Marcy, but also my friend Fern today. Hello, welcome to you two.
Hello.
Hello.
It's interesting how it's gonna be with 3 people today. We haven't done that before.
Also, I'm really glad that we have Fern because Fern is a native speaker, so it will be a big help understanding the intricacies of the English language. But also, Fern can bring another perspective because today we are meeting Denna, and maybe it will be cool to know what Fern thinks about that.
A female.
Fun, maybe you can tell us when was the first time that you read the book, how many times did you read it, stuff like that, maybe a little bit.
The first time I read it was, I've got to say 8 or 9 years ago, I think. Is it really that long? I think I read it first and then I listened to the audiobook a second time. And then I think that was only the only 2 times that I read it. And then now I just reread the first book for this. And I'm kind of halfway through the second book again. But I've been listening to the audiobook this time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also I hadn't read the Bast story, like The Lightning Tree and The Narrow Road Between Desires. So I just read those 2. Well, they're basically the same, but anyway.
Yeah.
And I'd read The Silent Regard of Slow Things like 2 years ago or so. But yeah, so this would be the 3rd time I've gone through it, but definitely from a different perspective from when I first read it, now that I'm a bit older and have different views on the world.
Is it fair to say that you prefer the audio version if you have gone back to it now?
I don't know that I prefer it because when I read it, I have very clear images, but I really like this audiobook. I think his name is Nick something, Podell, something like that. And I just feel like he really captures it well. And since I'd already listened to it that one time, I knew it was really good and really gave a good impression of the book. So that's why I went back to it this time, just so I could have it on while I was doing other things.
Yeah, I think there's also an audio version on YouTube. It might be the same, which is on Audible. But I also think that he's really, really good. I have this one example where it's in the second book. I don't think you've reread it yet so far. It's with the Adam. And there's this little girl, Celia, that Quoth has to fight against, just as a sparring partner. And she says, I'm Celia, I'm the greatest one, and becoming the greatest warrior, and something like that. And I always has this voice in my head of the narrator because he does this voice so good, I think.
Yeah, I really like him. It's good to just have it on the background.
Will you consider it one of your favorite books, or how does it rank in your literature?
I think definitely. I mean, Patrick Rothfuss himself, I'm sort of getting a bit jaded with after reading a lot of the controversies. And I mean, not even just the waiting for the 3rd book. It's more just the kind of dodgy behavior he's been having recently. So I'm a bit jaded on him, but it's different in the way of when you read Harry Potter and now with all J.K. Rowling's things, I don't really feel the same way about the books anymore. I don't really want to go back to them. But with these, I think it hasn't changed how I feel about the books. I remember the first time I read it having such a whoa feeling. So I feel like I'm very critical of books. So I feel like there's not that many that have had that effect for me. So I would definitely say it's one, if I reread something, it's one that I'm, definitely one of my favorites. So I wouldn't say favorite, but definitely top 6.
What's your
6
favorite?
was quite a specific number, but
Do you have a favorite?
No, I think I don't have the ability to really pinpoint.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I do. The other one that I would reread a lot would be what's her face, Robin Hobb, the first trilogy of Assassin's. What's it? Assassin's Apprentice.
Yeah,
that first trilogy and possibly also the Live Ship. I feel like those. I wouldn't also say that it's favorite. And otherwise, I grew up on Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett was my first author that I just read. So I'd say maybe 1 or 2 of his.
Okay.
So that would be the tippy top of the list.
Okay, interesting. You said about this wow effect that this book had, and actually for me, this chapter that we are talking about today, chapter 33, this was one where I had these one of a wow moment for me.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk about it later, but yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Should we maybe just go ahead and start with the chapters?
Sure.
Sure.
Chapter 33, A Sea of Stars. In this chapter, Quoth travels with Rowan's caravan and meets Denna. One night, the two sneak out and watch a night sky.
I would want to start about this chapter. The first sentence is about the inventory, right? It says everything that he has on his bag, and you can see he has already a wallet of random things, right? Needle and thread, flint and steel, pens and ink, and so on and so on. And that's a major part of why I love this book, is because we get the inventory every time. And I love to follow it. It feels like a video game, like what I have in my bag. I have the tooth of a tiger, and maybe I can use it at some point. And I really love it because I always try to guess what's gonna happen with these objects, and I have a lot of fun trying to guess.
Yeah, I don't know if we get all these objects again mentioned later, but it's definitely something, yeah, which is fun that you always know how much money he has and what objects.
Or how much he paid for everything coming
Yeah.
from his like survival days.
Yeah, maybe we can just go a little bit through the chapter and describe what happens. So, yeah, there's this moment where Denna and Quoth are talking for the first time, right?
He's waiting
he
the whole
says-
day.
Carefully avoiding her as well to not seem too obvious. But this is where he says the 7 words that
Yeah.
she brings up. So, yeah.
I was wondering
Oh.
what you're doing here.
That
Oh, yeah.
I never knew that was the 7 words.
Yeah, so this is, I don't know, for maybe also for the listeners. So I think, if is it the first admission test that Quoth takes? Elodine asks Quoth if he knows the 7 words that make a woman fall in love with you. And yes, somehow there is a little bit of a discussion with Denna and Quoth, and Denna tells him that, yeah, those are her 7 words that he, for the first time
Or
that they
she
met.
doesn't say specifically those are the words, but she says that he keeps saying like 7 words to her. Like when he speaks to her, she sort of says like, "Oh, you keep doing that you
Yeah.
keep using 7 words." Like so she notices it.
Also, would you really count it at 7 words? If you have a contraction like you are,
Ah,
I would have thought it would be 8 words.
yeah, it's slightly cheating actually.
Yeah. I don't know what the page count in a Word document says if you're writing like this.
I mean, if you have the ability to make it into 1 word, and then I think it counts. So it's grammatically correct. So that's
I'm
fine.
also thinking if there is an easy way to rephrase the sentence, if Patrick could have done an easier way to make 7 words with the same meaning.
I wondered what you are doing here. Then it takes out the was.
Yeah.
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 Also, maybe he's just dyslexic and think that you is Y-O-U, yeah.
So you mean Quoth needs some grammar lessons here?
I don't think he does, but maybe at the time.
He was still young, so he hadn't been to university.
Also, I really like the pickup line from Denna. Like, penny for your thought. I think it's really nice to start speaking with someone.
But it's also just a very short conversation what they have, right? It's like only this penny for your thought. I was wondering what you're doing here, liar. And that's it. I mean, then they leave again each other.
But it means a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both, I mean, Quoth even more shy than Denna. But yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Would you say that Denna is shy?
I mean,
Ah.
definitely not as much as Quoth, but I think they're both.
I
a
don't
little
think
bit
she's shy at all.
Oh, okay. That's
She
interesting.
seems very confident with everyone. Like, she was the first one to speak as well. So
Yeah, that's true.
I think with Quoth's shyness, it comes from the fact that he seems to have had 0 like woman experience.
Yeah, we don't know of anyone in his troop.
Like growing up, there was no one his age. Like in Tapian, we didn't see him kind of really interact with anyone. So I feel like Denna's the first beautiful girl that comes up, and he's just like a deer in the headlights. That's why he's a little bit shy on the first.
I don't find it right now, but it's like Quoth acts a little bit uninterested towards Denner at first, and I think there's another part where also Denner acts a little bit uninterested. That's why I was thinking that they are behaving very similar, but yeah, it's true. Denner is definitely more pushing, more going towards Quoth.
I don't know where she acts uninterested. I know she sort of just speaks to other people in the camp, and like when that Josen guy comes. But I don't see that she really, because he does his whole thing where he's very calculating, like the stage acting, like, oh, I must look like I'm not that interested and not be only going to her and things like that. Everything's very calculated. But I don't see that she particularly does that. Maybe I didn't see that.
I think it's easy to think if someone acts interested in someone older, then you can interpret it as not being interested in you. But I can also see the interpretation that you can be interested in both for a time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's just much more social than he is. So he talks to the other people. I mean, she does.
And also, if I understand it right, she's a bit living from flirty relationships and stuff like this, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, I
Talks about
didn't
the
find the
comfort.
part what I was thinking that she was also a little bit dodgy. No, I don't.
Maybe it was just the impression you got.
Maybe
from
there
her.
was something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also then again she comes to Quoth and asks, "Have you figured it out yet?"
She's always the first one to approach.
Yeah.
Also, I was wondering, at one point they start speaking, and they say, we spoke for hours late into the night, never first mentioned our past. Do you think you will be able to speak for hours late into the night without mentioning your past at all?
I mean, do you remember the conversation they have about flowers for like 20 hours? I think with these two, it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I also think it's possible. And actually, I think it's kind of pretty or beautiful because if you are asking about these, what is your job? What have you done? Where did you go to school and stuff like this? It's a little bit repetitive. And with these two, it seems like they get to know each other without their background. And I think it's really interesting because then you have to talk about, I don't know, your present self and not your past self. And I think I like that.
I think as well that these two are so much more similar than they think, or I don't know if they do think it, but they're just very, very similar. And I think that Quoth doesn't speak about his past, and so he doesn't ask people really. Like, he doesn't ask his friends much about their past or anything like that. But then he kind of carries with him for the rest of the book this idea that she's very secretive as well. But I think it stems from the fact that because he carries so many secrets and he doesn't ask anybody else, he just has this idea that, that everybody else is also very secretive, but he probably just never asks people. Maybe Denna would have actually told him about like her past, but I don't think he ever directly asks her.
Yeah. And I think there's this one part where she said, I have suspicions. Right now I'm thinking Annalyn, but I've been wrong before. And then it says like, a silence settled down over our conversation. Denna looked down at her hands, fidgeting with a ring on her finger, twisting it, and so on. And I feel like this, I have been wrong before, and then this silence, it makes like, okay, maybe her past wasn't so great. And this could be like a little sign for Quoth that, it might be.
Yeah, that's very true. Her demeanor there is very like nervous in a way.
Yeah. Also, this is the first mentioning that we got from Denna's ring. I think there are some theories that this ring is important. I mean, she said, I think it's from her mother. I'm not totally sure. The silver ring with the pale blue stone. Some theories are out there that this has some magic with the Yillish nuts or something like that.
I read that.
Yeah. And it's interesting that it's mentioned here as well, because obviously the ring will be important later in the second book, I think. and maybe it's even more important.
It's an item, Leo. What do you think of the item?
It's in my brain. I've just memorized it.
An inventory item. I actually read this theory that Denna what's the word? Enchants? Yeah, no. Enchants him. Literally. Is it enchant? Like puts a spell, but like not quite an actual spell.
Yeah.
That like the ring is actually, because she can read the knots, with the whole language of the knots and everything like that. And so like in the first time that she meets him, he actually puts like a spell on him. I don't think that's necessarily true, but it's one of the theories of this ring.
Yeah.
That's why he's so obsessed with her, maybe.
Yeah. Also, one other thing, you already said that they had this whole conversation about flowers, and the message of this conversation was, I think, that roses are not her type of flower.
Yeah.
And when they're in this chapter, they're looking at clouds, and she showed him the shape of them. And then they're listed a rose, a harp, a waterfall. And I think it was so interesting because a rose is something that she doesn't like. Then I'm also not sure if a harp, if this was an instrument that Quoth suggested for her. I'm not totally sure.
It was.
And yeah, the waterfall, I don't know anything, but this might be all stuff that Denna doesn't like. And she points out to the sky, and yeah, there's this cloud I don't like, this cloud I don't like.
Yeah, the harp, she starts off with, was it some pipes or like the lute or something? And Kvothe doesn't think it's right for her, and he suggests that she starts the harp. So she does, and she meets that teacher guy who's teaching her the harp. Which just seems to suit her quite well. So maybe she doesn't.
But it's not is it
dislike
the instrument that she ends up with?
As far as I know, yes, but I can't remember the rest of the second
okay.
book. So.
Okay.
She starts off with this really like big harp that I think it's like a court harp or something like that. And it's a bit big for her, and she has those lessons with that guy. But yeah, she takes it on after he suggests it to her.
Okay. Then afterwards, they spend a night together when they have like the night shift together, and then on another night they sneak out together and they go to this lake where they're looking for the stars. One interesting thing is that there are waystones at the lake, and of course these waystones have whole chapters of theories on themselves, like being these doors towards the Fey realm. So it might be possible that they theoretically spend the night in the Fey realm, I think. It's unlikely, but this is something out there.
Maybe between the two worlds kind of thing.
Yeah. And yeah, this is one chapter that I actually remember very well where I've read it, because I was visiting my parents, and it was pretty late when I arrived at home on the train station, and I think it was so late that my parents even were going to bed, so I had to go by foot to their house. And yeah, I was just walking at night and was reading this chapter, and it was very, very beautiful.
So reading, you mean hearing the audiobook, right?
No, I was reading on ebook. I was going.
You was reading on the ebook going? Wow.
I mean,
that's commitment.
It was the first time that I read this book, and yeah, for
Nothing
me,
would stop you.
it's I think it's really, really beautiful what this chapter, the relationship between Denna and Quoth, especially in the beginning, I like very much.
So you really couldn't stop at the moment.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah, it's like a chapter that nothing really happens. They're just on the road. They're just talking. It's very uneventful, but it is very like poetic and beautiful and warm imagery.
Yeah. Is it obvious for both of you that they have a crush on each other? Is there any question about this?
I mean, was it in this chapter that he says that she's the most beautiful thing he's seen in 3 years?
Yeah. This is.
Yes.
It's the next
I wanted
one.
to tell her. No, I wanted to take her hand. I wanted to tell her that she was the first beautiful thing I'd seen in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, from our perspective, it's very clear. I don't know if
for-
Denna
out
feels
of
the same way.
out of Quoth's perspective, definitely.
But I will say this is, from coming from the 3 years in Tabien where he was constantly in survival mode, now that he's on his way to where he wants to be, like everything seems beautiful to him because he says this to Denna, well, in his mind to Denna. And then I think in the next chapter with the lute, Jocelyn, I don't know how you say that,
he
Jocelyn?
said that. Yeah.
Yeah, literally the lute is the most beautiful thing that he's seen in 3. So I think now that, he's coming out of his survival mode, he is very, and also that's possibly why Denna makes such an impact because it's like the first time he can appreciate beauty and not just be like, I need to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's a bit of context. Like if we had seen any other woman in the context of like finally coming out of this phase of his life, maybe he would have found any woman beautiful at this point. So maybe Denna is not
Exactly.
even that specific for him. It's just like the right moment.
And to be fair, he sees every woman he encounters as beautiful. Partly, I think that's the Patrick Rothfuss thing, where every woman is described with how beautiful they are, and also how perky their breasts are. But it's just the male author thing. But yeah, no, he does see every. I mean, I remember Bast saying as well, like, "Oh, she had a crooked nose,"
Yeah.
So he does definitely see beauty in women.
I was wondering what was the thing that he saw 3 years ago. Have you thought about that?
What things?
What was the beautiful thing that he saw 3 years ago? Because he says that Denna was the first beautiful thing he had seen in 3 years. And do you think it's just his general life that he had 3 years ago, like his parents, the troop, stuff like that? Or do you think that there's a specific thing
Something
that
specific.
he saw that he thinks is very beautiful?
I would say that it's just that's when his life fell apart. So I think that before that he was capable of seeing beauty, and then
Yeah.
his life completely was, torn apart, and everything just became about living and surviving. So I think maybe it's the general thing. I would even say, could it be his mother? That's what he holds
Yeah.
like as the last beautiful thing.
Also,
Maybe.
now that I reread the sentence again, he says it's not the most beautiful thing
Ah, the
since 3 years,
first.
but the first
Yeah.
beautiful thing. So yeah, it's
That's
probably as
true.
you said that the last 3 years he just couldn't see any beauty, and now there is again at least a little bit of beauty in his life.
Also, he says the sweet fluting of her voice, because at this point he doesn't know that she can sing, but I feel like that's kind of indicative of like
Yeah,
how her voice sounds at setting up for later when she sings so beautifully.
yes,
Maybe I imagine if you can do music so well, you can hear it if people sing or not, right?
Exactly, because he has such a sharp ear for music.
yeah. Okay, and do you have anything else for this chapter?
Actually, I will say, I think the first thing when he's saying like he wants to ask her to come away and, what could he offer her? I think that's literally what their whole relationship is that he never makes a move with her because he knows that he can't offer her what she needs. And, he always says, oh, she has so many men and blah, blah, I just want to be her friend. But I think his own insecurities of that, like, he just couldn't provide for, someone like this. And that's why he never makes, like, the actual forward move with her.
Yeah, and maybe at some point he thinks that what she needs is a friend and not another lover. So this could also
Exactly,
be a
yeah.
point.
He's also very, inexperienced at this stage.
Yeah,
So.
of course. Okay, should we head to chapter 34? Chapter 34, Yet to Learn. In this chapter, the Karen adds Jozen to their Karen, and one evening he picks out a lute and plays, and after which Quoth asks him if he could play as well. And then Quoth played for the first time since 3 years.
This chapter starts with a funny line to me when he starts describing Justin, and he says, he seemed an earnest man. I did not like him.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice that he had the I didn't like him just past the earnest man part. Afterwards, he describes the real reason why he didn't like him.
Yeah.
But also I think Quoth also has a bit of problem with maybe with honesty in general. So maybe he also has his difficulties with people that are very earnest.
I don't think it's about the honesty or I mean, it's. Yeah, I think it's obvious that he is just jealous, right? I mean, he has this big crush on Denna, and then this guy comes along with his easy manner and his honest smile, and he seems very earnest, and then he spends so much time with Denna. Yeah, it's a catastrophe in Quoth's eyes, I think.
Definitely. I mean, with the honesty thing with Quoth, it's sort of the fact that he always is very calculated, I think. Not necessarily dishonest, but you can see how his mind works. Like, I'm going to show someone this part of me, and like everything's just calculated. I don't know if it's like flat out dishonest, but yeah, his interactions are very sometimes calculated.
So maybe it's like genuine people that just like come across as without calculating.
He's like, other people will like them because I don't know. Yeah, he's like kind of threatened by that genuineness.
Yeah, so Jocelyn joins the troop here, and they're sitting in the fire, and then he starts to play, finishes, and then Quoth asks something that he's really ashamed of asking someone, another musician, and I really like the comparison that he makes here. So it's asking a musician to hold his instrument is like asking another man to kiss his wife. I think there are many...
Which is problematic.
Yeah, definitely. There are so many instances in the series where the author emphasizes how important music is for Quoth. I think I don't unfortunately know the exact quote, but in the second book, there's something where he compares a woman to music, and then he says, if you think this is disgraceful, then you obviously don't know how much music means to me. Something along those lines. So yeah, there are many instances where you see just what a big part of life music is for him.
Actually, there was one of the classes with Elodin. He's saying that not everything can be explained with words, and Quoth gets so like upset about it. He's like, yes, it can be explained. And Elodin asks him to explain music, and then he gets very defensive about that because he's, Elodin says like, can you describe it without using music? So yeah, Quoth gets very defensive, and just his life sort of is very focused towards music.
Also, this is a chapter where I ask myself, like when you're describing a character, most likely you say what they do first. Like, for example, you say some people are students, some people are arcanists, some people are musicians. Which word will come to you first when you're describing Quoth? Like Quoth the musician, Quoth the arcanist, Quoth the student?
In this particular time?
Yeah, in this particular
in
time,
general?
I was asking myself, because I would have maybe said music in this time.
But he hasn't played for like 3 years, really.
Yeah, but it still feels like his core personality to me.
I think, yeah, I mean, now he plays, so yes, but I think for the last 3 years, he's put it on the back burner where it hasn't been like the focus. So I don't know if right in this chapter you would say Quoth the musician. I mean, except that he does actually play, but I don't know. It's kind of like Quoth the traveler.
Yeah,
I
think Traveler fits it well for me.
He hasn't traveled for 3 years too.
Good point. Yeah, but I think in general also...
A couple of chapters he's been traveling, so...
Okay, and then obviously Quoth plays. I think it's very comparable to the time where he was right after his troop died, and where he was alone in the wilderness with his lute and was playing like the leaf blowing in the wind and stuff like that. And yeah, he seems to play some really sad music.
Do you sometimes find yourself crying to music, just like Denna did this time?
I don't
it
think so.
depends.
Like
How
simply the
touching
music.
his stick is.
I cannot say so.
I mean, that's definitely happened to me for sure, but I don't know if recently.
What kind of music will you bring you to cry?
It has to be sad music.
Mm.
Something that's like where you can feel the passion of the singer who really feeling it in that moment. It depends what mood I'm in. Maybe if I'm in like a really odd mood and some happy song plays, I'll cry because I'm not happy at that moment. I think I'm definitely like emotionally like affected by music.
Do you think it could also happen just with, so without any text or lyrics? Because Quoth is just playing the instrument.
Definitely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, he's not singing in this stage, is
Yeah.
he?
No, he's not.
I mean, some beautiful like soundtrack music or classical music, possibly. I don't
Yeah.
know that it's ever happened to me, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Denna probably also feels like from Quoth the passion, not even just the music. She probably just feels how much he's feeling it in that moment,
Yeah.
and just like the passion and the like pain that's coming from him there.
No, it's really, really well written here, and really well described how he plays this music. And yeah. One other thing you already said, Fern, that when he gets the lute or when he picks it out, Quoth said, again, it was beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing that I had seen in 3 years. So this time he says most beautiful and not first beautiful. But then he said more beautiful than Denna, almost. So
Yeah, exactly.
so Denna is probably still the number one here. But yeah, it's very funny that next chapter we again get the same description, and you're wondering, what? Do you say this to everything now?
Yeah, exactly. He was very into that cloak, so
Yeah.
maybe that was the most beautiful cloak he'd seen. Oh.
So much beauty. The last sentence of the chapter, I think, is really interesting because it says, and if by chance there were tears, let us forgive him. He was just a child after all and had yet to learn what sorrow really was. And I was wondering, what? He still has to learn what sorrow really was? I mean, he had his family, his troop, his life was killed, and spending 3 years on the streets. What has he yet to learn?
I think maybe he hasn't felt it so far. Like he avoided it pretty well. So he had it in him, but he didn't let it out. So maybe it's the point that he finally get to experience it.
Okay. Because I
Yeah.
was reading it like there will be happening something even,
Foreshadowing.
even more tragic. But I think you might be right, Leo, that this is just the moment where, he feels sorrow for the
I
first
think it
time.
could be both because, like, right in the beginning, we know the whole thing of like he's waiting to die when he's, Coach,
Yeah.
the innkeeper. So clearly, the rest of his life is not going to go swimmingly either.
Yeah, and I
So,
also think
I
that
think
in
it's a mixture of both.
Yeah, I also think that in the end of book 2, the quote in the end, so the present time quote says something like, those were the last happy moments of his life or something like that. So
Yeah,
there will be
exactly.
happening stuff. Yeah.
Also, did you wonder why he's using the third person there?
Yeah, that's true. We come away like usually it's from Quoth's perspective, and now it's sort of like the narrator, basically.
Well, Quoth is a narrator, right? So
Oh yeah, that's
it's
true.
basically from the present time
Older
Quoth.
Quoth. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. He's showing empathy to his younger self.
Yeah, and he says that like, let's leave him alone. So let's let him be. So it makes sense that he talks now not from that perspective.
Also, to close the chapter, there is a sentence that's how Quoth spent his last night before he came to the university. So we know it's coming. We're getting to the university.
Yes.
And personally, I am looking forward to it. I think the university is one of my favorite parts of the book.
It's very much fun.
Yeah.
Should we add to
There's
chapter
another-
35? No, go
Oh,
on. Fern.
just with this chapter, there was one other thing that I really liked. I'm not sure if it's the first mention. No, maybe in the beginning they also mentioned Tinkatana, the song,
Oh, yeah.
which is a song that is like, everybody in this whole land world seems to know. And I just love that so much that it's
Yeah,
such
me
a
too.
good, it's like such a thing of like world building that people have this song, like, I don't know what our example would be, like Macarena or something. I don't know. But it's just like everybody knows it. And I just love that, that world building moment that like we already know, like Tinkatana, everyone's just going to sing along. And
and also people are exchanging like some verses of this, because I think the refrain, I don't know how to say it,
Refrain,
the chorus, exactly, is always the same, but people in different parts have different
versions.
and it's really funny that they're as you said, it's really, really good world building. Okay, chapter 35. The parting of ways. In this chapter, Quoth leaves the caravan and says his goodbye to Denna. So this is the chapter where I had this wow moment, because
Really?
but it's maybe a little bit of a fake wow. Now that I read the whole book. Because when I was reading this the first time, and I was reading this in German, I don't know if it's the way it was phrased sounds different than in English, because here in the end of the chapter it says, "Because of this I knew the truth. I felt it, heavy and certain in the pit of my stomach. I would never see her again." And in the German version, for me, it really read like the present Quoth is saying that he never saw her again. So that we never get to hear from Denna again. And this was, for me, was so powerful, because I really, really liked these last chapters, and I felt like having a little bit of a crush myself, or really feeling what Quoth was going through. And then getting the message that this author built up this great relationship, and then we will never meet this person again. This was, wow, this is so powerful. Like, I think it's maybe similar to Game of Thrones, where you have these characters, and then the author decides to kill them off. I think it's really powerful if you can do this, like building stuff like this up, and then not use it again, or not use it anymore. And
Interesting.
Also, it's easy to believe because the parents are just gone in one chapter without any foreshadowing.
That's true.
yeah.
But they were brutally murdered. I feel like, then does that make you think like that the reason he never sees her again is because he hears that she's been brutally murdered somewhere?
Yeah, that's a better reason to disappear.
One other thing that also emphasizes your point, Fern, that Denna is definitely not so shy, because Quoth, he doesn't know what to offer Denna, and this is why he doesn't ask her to come with him. But Denna, she goes to him and said, "You could come to Annalyn with us. They say the streets are paved with gold." So she exactly does what Quoth didn't dare to do, offering him to join her, even though she doesn't have anything to offer him.
Exactly. I feel like he's the more cagey one that doesn't. And it's interesting because, I don't know, I definitely had a different perspective of Denna when I first read the books to this reread. But yeah, I just feel like people see her as so like difficult and, secretive and mysterious. But I don't think that she actually is.
Yeah.
She's the one that approaches. She's the one that always like goes to him. And yeah.
It would be really interesting to have a book from Denna's perspective to see how she sees Quoth. Because I think, if you don't know what Quoth is thinking, then he is, really cagey and I don't know.
Also, there is a world part about Quoth getting money from Retta and then asking Derek if what was the money. Did you get the point of this whole discussion? I didn't really understand what's the point of it.
Yeah, so Rita is the wife of Rowan, that you own these caravans. And she gave Quoth a job because he was very useful on the road. And Quoth didn't feel comfortable because he gave his money to Rowan, and she thinks that Rita might get in trouble if he figures out that she gave money away. And Derek tells him that no, this is the way that these people do it. I think they are their shins. I don't know from where they are.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Sealish. Yeah, they are Sealish.
Oh, Sealish.
Yeah, and this is just the way that these Sealish people, it seems like that the male people or the men, they are not really giving away money, so buying stuff
Or
and
even dealing with it at
bargaining,
all.
dealing with it. Yeah, exactly. So this is why Rita gave him, quote, the money.
And I was asking myself, why is it so important for us to know a lot about it? And I was thinking maybe it's just to show that Quoth hasn't learned so much about the world that he thinks he had.
Yeah, he even says himself that apparently he didn't went this up north with his troop.
I think it's also another aspect of world building for us,
Yeah.
you know, that we're learning different cultures and their ways, because that's constantly peppered throughout the book. You know, like the Edem knots and the fighting and things. There's always little stories just about different cultures that we learn for ourselves, that as readers, that this is their ways. And so that might just be that as well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, one other thing that I found interesting is that this city, Annalyn, I don't think that we hear from the city again. And I don't know if Patrick Rothfuss had other plans, but yeah, if the city, it is said that the streets are paved with gold there. I don't know, it feels like it's a very big and important city, maybe. But I have checked
we would
also the
come back to
fandom,
it sometime.
there's no entry there. So I don't know. Just some
Interesting.
interesting
Yeah, that's
stuff.
true.
Also on the map, it is like on the Great Stone Road. It's pretty in the middle of everything, right? It's if you keep going from Chabrion direction Imbria and the university, it's all the way between this big forest, the Eld, and the Raturan Empire. So it could be like a very important city for the world relationships, right?
But we never see that.
Maybe we will in book 3. So maybe
That's a lot of expectations for book 3.
But it definitely is like a pointed thing to like describe the city. I think as well that it was meant to sort of come back in at some stage.
yeah, it reads like this, right?
Yeah. There's one thing I want to say with his interaction with Denna at the end when he turns around and she's just standing there. He says, "She was lovely as a flower and totally unconscious of it." Now this is just, no, she isn't unconscious of it. Like, I don't know if we're just seeing this from Quoth's perspective or from Patrick Rothfuss's perspective, that, oh, you know, women are so like, they don't know how lovely they are and everything like that. But Denna knows it. Denna knows exactly the effect that she has on men. I mean, she's what, like 15 here? She probably had, you know, men chasing after her since she was like 9 or 10. So I think that for Kvoth to have this like innocent view, it just shows that he just doesn't have experience or like, yeah, any experience with women or growing up with them. I just think, yeah, for someone like Denna, I mean, this is also what she uses a little bit as her charm and, you know, her knowledge of the effect that she has. So it's a bit
Yeah,
ignorant of him.
I think there's maybe a difference between. I mean, unconscious of it might not be the right word here, but I think it's maybe a little bit of a way of acting which is described. So it's hard to explain this for me, but I know what Patrick wants to say with it. So it might be just some ignorance from Quo's side, but it feels like this is some character character trait that I know what Patrick wants to describe here. I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think, Leo?
Can you explain a bit more?
I think Denna is really good at looking innocent. She's really good at like looking genuine and stuff like this. But I am also think of like Fern that she really knows really well how men works because she is right. She has a lot of people trying to flirt with her, so she has to learn a lot about it. And I think she can play really well with it.
Literally, we saw Jocelyn, I don't know how to pronounce it, asking her to be one of his wives. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like we just saw that. So I'm interested if like you can sort of expand on what you think of like what Patrick is trying to say here, because I feel like I don't quite see
I think
that as part of it.
it's yeah, maybe innocence. I don't know if
Okay.
this yeah. I feel maybe she's also not that confident herself, because she I don't know, I read her not as that confident as I mean not in her skills or stuff like that, but maybe what she sees her own worth is. Um,
Okay.
so maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, I could see that because even when she starts like playing the harp, she's always very like, oh, I'm not really good at it, and this and like the singing as well. She'd only heard the song
Yeah.
that she joins in like 2 or 3 times, but she's like, oh, it wasn't this. So maybe, yeah, I could see an aspect of that then.
Yeah. Also,
That
her
sometimes she has
patron
self-doubt.
beats her, and
Oh, yeah.
could also be stuff like that. Like she believes maybe that she deserves this, or I mean, it's
So her
all
own self-worth.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that then. I feel like the lovely as a flower and totally unconscious of it is very like a not a great example because that just sort of for me is like the external thing and the effect that she has. But
yeah. I mean,
maybe
I think
if it was more
it's
about her worth.
also in sports or something like that. I mean, there's a difference if someone knows that they're a good player, but they are not showing off like with it or stuff like that. You know what I mean? So there's a difference between knowing that you're a good player and showing it off. So this is maybe this unconscious what I mean, maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Can definitely see that with her self-worth part of it then. Because she definitely uses her charm and her
Yeah,
effect as like
Yeah.
a currency. Like that's basically the currency that she carries.
definitely.
When I was reading the book at this point, I started to ask myself, oh, how easy is it to find someone that you're looking for? Because this is a wide world, there's a lot of people, and I was very curious about the fact if it's easy to meet again. Of course, when it's a book, you tell yourself, yeah, it will happen because it's bound to. It wouldn't be a book about it otherwise.
I'll tell you,
But-
I was 100% sure that you would never see her again when I first read this.
But otherwise,
Oh,
it's really hard to find people, right?
Yeah, it's really, really hard. I was living with someone in the building complex. I don't know how to say it, and I was never seeing this person there, but only like in university or stuff like that. And I think it's really, really rare to meet a specific person. But if you know like 100 people, then yeah, someone you see then and there. So maybe it feels more likely than it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
But it shows that she seeks him out then.
She says
Otherwise
she
it
will.
doesn't- Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, if she's traveling to Annalyn, I don't know. I'm not sure if we get a confirmation from her afterwards that she went there or not. But then it's not so long that she apparently went back to Imre, where she sang then with Quoth. Also, she need to get used to Savoy, this other friend of Quoth, which she is dating at the time. So, yeah, she definitely was not long in Annalyn.
Yeah, that's true. Did something really bad happen there? Or, I don't know. Did she
Jocelyn.
actually never go there? She met the rest of his wives. What was for both of you, the first time you read the book, what was your overall impression of Denna? Because I see so many, like people that say, yeah, I found her really annoying and like flaky and, like always mysterious and secretive, and other people that do like her. What was your first impression? Not just from these chapters, but just overall after you've like gotten to know her better.
I took a really long time to appreciate this book as a romance book. for a long time. I was just focusing so much on the university and the inventory and and the traveling that I didn't
Oh, there
really
was a
catch
girl?
up. And this time I'm reading it, I'm really understanding how much of a romance it is. But I think the first time I didn't realize it that much. So I didn't have like a bit of an opinion on Denna. She was like there, and I enjoyed when she was there. But maybe I'm not. I didn't put enough focus on her the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, for me it was, as I said, in these chapter I pretty much had like a little crush myself, if you can say something about this. And I really liked their relationship. And I also didn't pick it up so much as a romance book on the first read, but if you then have read everything, then you see, yeah, basically everything is around Denna, or of course also the Chandrian, but it's a very, very big part.
Although,
And
would you still say it's a romance? Because I feel like nothing ever really comes from it. They care so deeply about each other, and he definitely mistakes it as romantic feelings. But I
it's
don't
true,
know
but
that they ever.
yeah, for me, this is still a romance book. I think maybe even more than, I don't know, just adventure. I don't know what the other.
Really?
Yeah,
Even though that nothing ever that we know of happens with them, you
yeah,
still think, just like their relationship and their kind of.
yeah. It feels for me like the seed, the core of the book is
Okay.
more like
It's
this
interesting.
romance than the Chandrians.
But for Leo,
Maybe
the
because of
core
the
is-
second books.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All the Valerian
I
plot
don't know
is a
that it's
big
the
part.
core. Oh, don't talk to me about.
No, but you were asking what we are thinking about Dana, and
Yeah.
I think she is lovely, and in the second book I like her a little bit less than in the first one,
I
but
think so too.
generally I think she is. For me, I think that she's a nice person. I don't think that she's annoying.
Okay. Yeah, because I
What
think
about
that
you,
I
Fern?
definitely. And the first time I read it, I think I did actually like lump her into that thing of, she's just so flighty. She just appears here and there and everywhere. And like, I think I did see her that way. But I don't know if it's just because I'm a bit older now and I understand her better. But I just see it completely different now that like every time she's the one that like approaches him. She's the one that finds him and writes him notes to meet. And she's waiting there for him for like hours. And like, he's more the one that just is so hard to find. And, you know, at the times when he goes to find her and says, she's so hard to find, it's just because she's busy living her life. Like, she doesn't have to tell him where she is all the time. You know, she has her own things to do. So, but I think I always saw that in the beginning as very like, she's just doing that on purpose. But now, yeah, like, I grew to like her a lot more now, where I see her earnestness is just, she tries, she puts it out there. She never actually like tries to be so mysterious. And I really liked as well, later on we come across when Diak talks about her, because he's known her for quite a while, and how, you know, I think Kvothe thinks he's a little bit better than her because he says something like, but she could do any other job, you know, like not just being a man's familiar, no, what is a companion? And Diak is very like kind of cuts that off very much, like, no, for a woman, what is there? You know, he can go to university. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't have any family. And yet there's still options for him. There aren't the same options for Denna. It's just, for a woman, it doesn't exist. Even if she tried to, like Diak mentions, seamstress or things like that. Even if she does that, she would still get taken advantage of without family and without money. So, yeah, I see her very differently this read through, where I'm just like, she's just doing what she needs to. And yet she's still the one that is more reliable than Kvothe is in their relationship.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, it makes sense. I don't remember exactly the nature of the dispute, but in the second book they have a big fight, and I think it makes also sense that Denna is also very upset with Quoth if she's putting a lot of effort and nothing is coming forward because it doesn't put as much effort, and at some point you get disappointed.
I mean, she buys him that loot case. Like, she is very much there. So now I see when people talk about her being like flaky and, I'm just like, no, she's put all the effort in. I think that argument, I haven't got to that in the second book, but I think it's because she didn't believe him about the Chandrian or something like that.
I
And he
think
gets
it's
really like upset about
I
it.
think it's because, and this also maybe it's full circle for this chapter, because Quoth is in the favor of the mayor, and then he finally has something to offer for her, and this is getting him as a patron instead of her current patron. And she doesn't want it. She said that she wants the patron that she deserved herself or earned herself. And yeah, there's this discussion because Quoth does not want her to live this life where she is with this secretive patron and the one that beats her. And yeah, she wants to have her own decision and her own patron.
Maybe the first time Quoth is actually trying to change something about their relationships, right?
Yeah, again, this is
Be
a
more of
time
a
where he
protector, I
can
guess.
where he can repay her for her loot case, where he can offer her something, and yeah, he wants to take her
But it's
away
not what
from
she
this-
wants or
yeah.
needs.
Yeah, definitely.
There was one more thing at the end of this book as well, where he's talking to Sim about her, and he says, well, Sim says that he finds her quite cruel, and Quoth is like, yeah, she is cruel, but like a storm, like if a storm breaks your house down or whatever, you don't say like, oh, the storm was mean.
Yeah,
It's just
the
cruel.
nature of it.
And I guess like from his perspective, like, yes, she can be just because she doesn't like, I don't know, let him into her world every minute of the day. But I just see it as she's not like cruel. She's just doing her thing. Like she's just getting by and like doing what she needs
Yeah.
to. So even that description, I think, is not even really like a fair, but I can see from his perspective why it's just like she's not intentionally trying to hurt people.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that they both probably have not a lot experience, just with close relationships.
Where they can
least
be
in
like
their
open and
age.
vulnerable.
Yeah,
And they are just both kids.
yeah.
Like where we still are at the end, they're still both kids.
Yeah, I think we did well with these chapters. What do you think?
I think so too.
Okay, then that's it.
Oh.
Okay.
Interesting.
After you.
I have a lot to say. Do you have something on your mind, Fern?
No, I think for these chapters today we are
Yeah.
good, and we
No,
will
that
we
was
will
like
continue.
an extra side note.
No, it was very much fun. Thank you, Fern, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
It
That was fun.
Very, really fun.
Yay. It was a nice time. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.